Picture this. It's late at night, you're lying in bed, the room is completely dark, and the only light in the space is that faint blue glow of your phone screen.
Yeah, we've all been there.
Right. And you're just mindlessly scrolling through your messaging app, you're swiping past group chats, daily work check-ins, and then suddenly you see a name. An old best friend, someone who, just a few years ago, they knew every single detail of your daily life.
The person you used to text the very second you woke up. Or the one you'd call immediately if something even slightly funny happened at the grocery store.
Exactly. But now you open the chat history and the very last message is just
happy birthday or something.
Yeah, exactly. Happy birthday. And that was sent 6 months ago. Before that, maybe it was a quick, hope you're doing well. There's no big fight, no dramatic betrayal, no screaming match in a coffee shop, just a completely silent drifting apart, your lives simply unschooled in different directions. And looking at that quiet chat box, you feel this sudden, incredibly heavy wave of sadness.
Oh, it's a really profound kind of melancholy. When a relationship ends with a massive argument, there's a clear narrative.
Yeah.
You know who did what.
Exactly. You know exactly what happened. But without a clean break, our brains are left in this sort of narrative vacuum. And they really do not know how to process that kind of silent ending.
And that emotional vacuum is our core mission for today's deep dive. We've gathered this fascinating stack of sources for this. It's a mix of relationship psychology journals, a few sociological studies on the lifespan of human friendships, and some really beautiful reflective essays on emotional closure.
It's a great collection of material.
It really is. Together, these sources explore the emotional landscape of what they call the gentle art of letting go, specifically focusing on those relationships that just quietly fade away.
And before we get into the psychology of this, we want to acknowledge something special about our audience today. We know that a lot of you listening right now are joining us to practice your English.
Yes. Well,
we actually designed this specific deep dive with you in mind. We did. We're going to maintain a very conversational but, deliberate pace today. We'll make sure we enunciate clearly, and we'll keep our general vocabulary accessible.
Right.
But as we explore these psychology journals and essays, we are going to naturally pause to highlight and explain some truly beautiful English idioms and phrases from the source material.
Because learning a language is all about connection, So exploring how we talk about human connection in English feels very appropriate here.
Absolutely. Okay, let's unpack this. This experience of a relationship silently fading away, it's universally understood.
Yeah.
Yet the psychological literature suggests it often hurts more. Or at least it hurts in a much more confusing way than a dramatic falling out.
Yeah, it really does.
Why does a quiet ending create so much inner turmoil?
Well, to understand that, we have to look at the underlying neurology and psychology of human investment. In clinical terms, researchers refer to this simply as a fading friendship.
A fading friendship.
Okay. Right. And you'll often hear the phrase drift apart, which is great because it paints this vivid picture of two boats on a quiet lake. They're slowly floating away from each other without a motor, completely subject to the water's current.
Wow, yeah. It's totally passive.
Exactly. It is the natural erosion of a connection. But the reason it keeps you awake at night, questioning your own worth, is largely due to a well-known cognitive trap. It's called the sunk cost fallacy.
Ah, the sunk cost fallacy. Okay, I am familiar with that term from behavioral economics and business, like when a company keeps pouring money into a totally failing project.
Right, because they've already spent so much on it.
Yeah. But how does that translate to our personal friendships?
So the human brain views emotional investment very similarly to financial investment. The sunk cost fallacy is our brain's inherent hardwired resistance to losing something that we've already invested time, energy, or vulnerability into.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, we mistakenly believe that a relationship is only successful if it lasts until the end of our lives. Because you invested 5, 10, maybe 20 years into this friendship, your brain looks at the fading connection and says, well, if this ends now, all of that historical time and effort was a complete waste.
Oh, man. That feels exactly like holding on to an old, incredibly expensive gym membership.
Oh, perfect example.
Or like a premium streaming subscription that you just never, ever use anymore. The service doesn't fit your daily routine, but you refuse to cancel it because you feel this overwhelming guilt about all the money and time you've already spent setting it up.
Yes, exactly.
You hold on to the membership entirely out of guilt, not out of current joy.
And we do the exact same thing with people. We hold on out of a sense of historical obligation. And this is where the lack of a big fight becomes a real problem.
How so?
Because there was no specific argument to point to. The sunk cost fallacy triggers intense self-doubt. Your brain searches for a reason to justify the loss. You ask yourself, did I do something wrong? Am I too boring now? Am I a bad friend for not trying harder to keep this boat tied to the dock?
That is so relatable. So, based on the sociological studies in our stack, I have to ask, is this fading always a sign of failure on our part? Or is it just the natural, unavoidable reality of moving through life?
What's fascinating here is how entirely natural this process is. Think about the word erosion in the natural world.
Okay.
It means the gradual wearing away of something, like water slowly reshaping a stone over decades. The process isn't violent. It isn't a failure of the stone, and it isn't a failure of the water.
Right, it just happens.
It is simply the unstoppable passage of time and the shifting of environments. Friendships undergo this exact same natural erosion.
I love that. So for our listeners practicing their English, let's contextualize some of these phrases so you can use them to describe your own experiences.
Good idea.
If you ever need to explain this situation to someone, a very clear, everyday phrase you can use is, "We are drifting apart without any fight."
That's a great one.
It perfectly captures that slow, blameless separation. I'll say again. We are drifting apart without any fight.
And if you want to express something a bit more poetic, perhaps describing the current state of a fading friendship, one of the essays uses this really beautiful line.
Oh, I remember this one.
Yeah, it says, the intimacy has faded into polite distance.
Polite distance.
Right. It means you used to share your deepest secrets, but now when you do speak, you treat each other with the polite, careful manners you would use with a stranger. The intimacy has faded into polite distance.
It's so sad, but so true. So, if the sunk cost fallacy is what keeps us awake with guilt, how do we reframe that ending so it doesn't feel like a personal failure? We really need to transition from this heavy feeling of loss to something much more liberating.
Right, because if we stay stuck in the guilt of a fading friendship, we are clinging to the past and we're just fighting reality. The self-reflection essays in our sources introduce a deeply freeing concept to counter this guilt.
Okay, what is it?
It's the idea of outgrowing a relationship.
Outgrowing. But wait, doesn't letting go feel like we are giving up on someone we care about?
It can feel that way at first, sure.
I mean, I think about outgrowing in a physical sense, like a favorite piece of clothing, like a jacket from when you were a teenager. You absolutely loved it. You wore it every single day. It kept you warm.
Right.
But if you try to put that exact same jacket on today, it just doesn't fit your shape anymore. The sleeves are too short, the shoulders are super tight, and it feels restrictive. You didn't fail at wearing the jacket.
No, of course not.
And the jacket didn't fail you. You simply grew, your shape changed, and it no longer fits who you are right now.
That is the absolute perfect way to visualize the word outgrow. It completely removes the blame from the equation. You didn't do anything wrong, and neither did your friend. You simply grew into different shapes.
It's a relief to think about it that way.
It really is. To help conceptualize this, English literature and cultural advice often rely on a very famous framework to explain the lifespan of relationships. The saying goes, people come into your life for a reason, a season, or a lifetime.
A reason, a season, or a lifetime. Let's break that down because it really changes the metric of what makes a relationship successful.
It totally rewrites the rules. Under this framework, some people arrive just to teach you a specific lesson or to help you through a single distinct challenge. That is a reason.
Okay, a reason.
Maybe it was a coworker who taught you how to stand up for yourself in meetings, and once you learned that skill, you naturally lost touch. Then there are people who are there to share a specific chapter of your life. That is a season.
Oh, like your college roommates? Or the friends you made when you lived in a specific city for a few years?
Exactly.
During that season, you were inseparable. You survived that environment together. But when the season ends, when you graduate or move away, the context that held you together disappears.
Precisely. And the framework suggests that only a very rare, select few people are actually meant to be there for an entire lifetime. The psychological friction happens when we take a person who is meant to be a season and we try to force them into the lifetime category.
Which leads to what the sources call the clinging mindset. We have all experienced this. It is that tense, exhausting feeling when you force yourself to go to a dinner with an old friend.
Oh, those dinners are so draining.
They are. And you're desperately digging through your brain trying to find topics that fit just to keep the conversation alive. You leave the dinner feeling drained instead of energized.
The alternative to that clinging is the gentle release mindset. This is a sign of really high emotional maturity. It's relaxed, you preserve the beautiful memory of who you were together, and you acknowledge that you've both found new, different paths.
That sounds so much healthier.
It is. You are aiming for a soft landing. That's a phrase we use to describe a peaceful, painless conclusion. Much like an airplane touching down gently on a runway rather than crashing violently.
A soft landing. So acknowledging that a friendship has completed its season isn't a betrayal at all. It's actually a form of deep respect for what the relationship used to be.
Exactly.
For our English learners, let's practice expressing this mature perspective. Here is an incredibly empowering sentence you can use when you realize a connection has run its course. We didn't fail, we just outgrew each other.
It's so gentle.
Let's say that one more time, really feeling the lack of blame in the words. We didn't fail, we just outgrew each other.
And another phrase you might use, perhaps just quietly in your own mind, to find closure, which closure is the psychological feeling that an experience is completely finished and resolved, is this. I love you enough to let you go.
Wow.
Once more.
Oh.
I love you enough to let you go. It shifts the entire dynamic of the memory from resentment back to gratitude.
But, knowing this philosophy in our heads is one thing. We can logically understand that a friend was just there for a season. But actually feeling that closure in our bodies, especially late at night when we're alone with our glowing phone screens, that is a completely different challenge.
Oh, there's a huge gap between logic and emotion there.
Right. So how do we move from understanding this intellectually to actually feeling it emotionally?
Well, the psychology and wellness essays in our stack actually provide a highly actionable way to bridge that gap. They outline a practical 3-step bedtime practice called the gentle release ritual.
Okay, a ritual.
Yeah. The explicit goal here is to help your nervous system achieve that soft landing we talked about and formally process the end of the friendship so you can stop scrolling and finally sleep.
I think we all need this. Walk us through the mechanics of this. What happens in step 1?
So step 1 is honor the history. When you're lying in bed feeling sad about drifting apart, your first instinct might be to aggressively block the person out of your mind. You try to suppress the memory.
Yeah, you just want to stop thinking about them.
Exactly. But suppression just creates more psychological tension. Instead, the ritual asks you to picture them clearly. Remember a specifically good time, maybe a road trip you took, or a time you were laughing uncontrollably together.
Okay.
You look at that mental image and you mentally say, "Thank you for being part of my story." You are validating that the relationship mattered, which signals to your brain that the emotional investment wasn't a waste.
Ah, I see. You're honoring the sunk cost without letting it dictate your future. You just say thank you. Okay, then what is step 2?
Step 2 is a visualization exercise. Cut the energetic cord.
Cut the cord.
Right. Take a deep, slow breath and visualize a thick physical rope connecting your chest to this person. This invisible rope represents everything tying you to them right now. It's made of your lingering expectations, your past grievances, and your lost hopes of what the friendship should have been.
That's a powerful image.
And as you exhale, imagine taking a pair of scissors and just gently snipping that rope.
It's the physical sensation of untangling yourself. That word, for our learners, untangle, it means to separate things that have become knotted and twisted together. It really is like walking around all day wearing a super heavy backpack filled with rocks.
Yeah.
And finally just taking it off and dropping it on the floor. Your shoulders instantly drop, your chest opens up.
And that physical relief is exactly what the visualization is designed to trigger in your nervous system. Which brings us to the final step, step 3. Send silent blessing.
Silent blessing.
Right. Now that the cord is cut and the backpack is off, you allow everyone to return to their rightful places in the world. You wish them well from afar. And it is crucial that this blessing remains silent.
Wait, silent. So you don't text them?
You do not text them. You do not reach out. Reaching out just restarts the cycle of expectation. You simply acknowledge in your own heart that it was enough to share the time you did have.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, the sources suggest that letting go of what they call bitter expectations is the absolute key to profound inner peace.
It really is.
For our listeners, a bitter expectation is a demand or a hope that has turned angry because it's not being met by reality.
Yes. A bitter expectation is when you mentally demand that someone be who they used to be. instead of accepting who they are right now. When you drop that bitter expectation, you stop fighting reality. You stop demanding the water flow backward up the mountain.
Dropping bitter expectations is such a powerful tool for navigating adulthood. For our final language practice, we have something very special pulled directly from these essays. It is a healing affirmation, combining all the vocabulary and concepts we've discussed today.
It's a beautifully constructed paragraph that you can use as a mental script when you're struggling to let someone go.
I'm going to read this affirmation gently and slowly. If you're listening, you might want to close your eyes, absorb the rhythm of this beautiful English practice, and maybe even adopt it for yourself tonight.
Go for it.
Here it is. Tonight, I release the people I have outgrown. I hold no anger, no regrets, and no bitter expectations. I thank them for the season they gave me, and I let them go with a silent blessing. My soul is untangled, and I am at peace.
Wow. My soul is untangled. The imagery there is just brilliant. It perfectly captures moving from chaos to clarity.
It really does.
Yeah.
So let's briefly trace the path we've walked during this deep dive. We started by exploring the very natural, blameless reality of fading friendships. We learned how the sunk cost fallacy tricks our brains into feeling guilty, making us feel like we have to hold on tightly just because of the years we have already invested.
Yeah, and then we shifted our perspective away from failure. We explored the deeply comforting idea that we do not fail at relationships. We simply outgrow people, just as we outgrow the clothes from our youth.
Right.
We embraced the framework that many people are only meant to be in our lives for a specific season, not a lifetime.
And finally, we walk through the mechanics of the gentle release ritual. By honoring our shared history, visualizing cutting the cord of expectations, and sending a silent blessing, we can finally untangle our souls and find rest. It is a lot to process, but knowing there's a psychological framework for this very specific, quiet kind of grief is an immense relief.
It gives structure to an experience that usually feels very messy and formless.
Definitely. As we wrap up today's exploration, I want to leave you, our listener, with a final provocative thought. Something that builds on everything we have discussed for you to ponder on your own time.
Taking the concept of a season and applying it to the future.
Exactly. If we truly deeply embrace this idea that many people are only going to be in our lives for a temporary season, how does that change the way you treat the new friends and the complete strangers walking into your life today?
That is a fascinating shift in perspective.
If you accept from the very beginning that a relationship might be temporary, does it make you pull away and protect yourself? Or does it actually make you appreciate the fleeting present moment with them even more?
That's a great question.
I mean, if you know the autumn leaves are only going to be vibrant for a few short weeks, you don't ignore them. You pay closer attention to their beauty while they are here.
You stop carrying the anxiety of forever, and you grant yourself the permission to just fully enjoy the interaction today.
Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. Whether you are here primarily to practice the beautiful nuances of the English language, or you're simply trying to navigate the complex, ever-changing landscape of human connection, we are so glad you spent this season, this brief, shared moment in time with us.
We really are.
So tonight, when it's late and the room is dark and that glowing screen shows a name from a past season of your life, you don't have to carry that heavy backpack of sadness. You can just smile, say a silent thank you for the memories, turn off the screen, and rest easy.